What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update for you guys. And some really interesting news was breaking yesterday in terms of investment coming into Spurs from Ben Jacobs, quite reliable source there. And he's talking about the Qatari sports investments. And he says, Qatar sports investments are ramping up efforts to find another team to minority invest in this year. Nasser Al-Khelaifi met with Spurs chairman Daniel Levy earlier this week to hold exploratory meeting. This wasn't Levy's first discussion with Al-Khelaifi on potential investment, and interestingly, Levy has also been to Qatar since the turn of the year. Spurs' position is a denial over any discussions with KSI, but there is no doubt that there has been recent and still active exploratory engagement on the subject of investment between Spurs and QSI. Ali Gold said yesterday the word from Spurs is that there is absolutely no truth to it. Most clubs would likely say that about preliminary financial discussions, and Paul O'Keefe said yesterday meetings between QSI and Tottenham have taken place. That does not mean anything develops, but you don't go to Qatar for days on end for no reason or a media spin. Very interesting stuff coming out yesterday. What do you make out of all of it?
It's difficult to know what to make because you don't know what the scope of the investment is. You don't know exactly what the discussion's been made of. Obviously, the foundation like the Qatari sports investment fund, that is obviously serious business. You know, they own PSG. They've got some serious pull when it comes financially, and their investment would obviously mean more money for Spurs, and obviously that would be like a big deal for Tottenham. I don't think it would be the game changer. Potential unless they took over the whole club. I don't think it would be the game changer. Maybe that that it wouldn't completely change our fortunes if ENIC is still owning it. But also, do we want the Qatari involvement from a moral standpoint? I mean, I guess is each their own as to where they draw the line. I'd rather not, to be honest, if we can help it. But when you're dealing with other clubs owned by the Saudi state and all these other things, like part of me thinks you have to do it to compete, but I would rather not go down that route if we can help it. But I don't know, it's difficult to know what to think.
Yeah, it is very difficult. And I think when you're talking only morally, obviously it's not a good spot to be in. And fine, other clubs are going down that route with Newcastle, PSG and the likes. They've just taken a 22% share in Braga as well in October last year. Look, it's not great, and morally, if I could avoid it, I would, but I don't think you can avoid it in this day and age anymore. And every club is kind of going that way, and it kind of feels like we need this kind of investment, this type of investment, to keep up with the rest of the Premier League and all the clubs that are going that way. I have said in the past, I remember saying, when Pochettino was at his pomp and Daniel Levy looked like that he was onto a good thing, I said that we're doing things in the right way, and I was proud of that, and it looked like we were going in the right way. But unfortunately, things have not gone in that way, and we're seriously in serious danger of falling behind our rivals, as opposed to Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, even Liverpool. Well, not even Liverpool, but Liverpool. I mean, we're falling behind all these clubs, in my opinion, and we need something to dramatically change in the way we approach our dealings if we are going to keep up with these kind of clubs. And unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say it, because it does go against what we stand for morally, I think it might be the only way to really keep up with these kind of people, unless Daniel Levy and ENIC can dig deep into their pockets and keep us afloat with these clubs.
So it's like doing a deal with the devil. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. But I don't know another way where we can actually keep up with these kind of clubs.
Why it has to be Qatari? It
doesn't have to be Qatari, but they're the only club. They're the only investment firm that we know of that are in talks with Spurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, without the serious possibility of it happening. I don't know. I don't know what it even looks like. What it means for us if they invest and have part ownership of the club. I don't know what that looks like or what that entails. So it's difficult to know to the extent of what we should really be thinking about it. But all I know is I never wanted Spurs to go in that direction, and I still don't. And if we can avoid it, I still don't want us to go in that direction. But I guess I have to see what develops out of these preliminary talks and how the investment affects Tottenham in the long term.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because obviously if they take a minority share of what, like 20-25% or something like that, it'll cost them close to £1 billion, and they're going to want return on their investment. They're not just going to pump money in for a minority share just to see Spurs, to pump loads of money in and see Spurs win a couple of trophies. It's just not going to work like that. ENIC are still going to be in control. ENIC are the ones that are going to get that big lump of money. It's just a case of, are they going to invest it in the club? I'm sure there will be some investment, but I don't think it's going to be to the level of what we're seeing other clubs doing.
I mean, it better be. If they get investment and they're still skimping on a few million, you know, that would be so telling.
Yeah, of course it will. I think we all know where their mind's at and where their priorities are at. But let's say the Qataris take 25% and they're seeing this model of ENIC and, you know, shitting out money and producing so much money through the stadium and all the extra revenue streams that the Spurs have. I mean, the Qataris will probably be happy with that without seeing too much investment in the team, seeing as money streaming in.
Yeah, probably. I mean, also you also get money for winning trophies, though, don't you?
Yeah,
so
you do.
Hopefully, I'd be allowed to be part of it, and or you want to continue to grow the brand. And if we're falling behind, you know, win Europa League and all these kind of things, it's going to be less money. But yeah, I mean, you could argue definitely that they don't really care too much about the sporting side, and it's all about how much money they get on the money they've put in. And with the way things are going with the stadium and packed houses every game and concerts and all these events, there's not going to be an issue on that front.
But it also could be, if they go and take a minority share, could be within view or in the future to take the majority share and to eventually buy the club out. So, you know, there are many different kind of avenues that they can go down and you can go down and you can think about. But right now, we don't know too much. And if they were to buy a 25% stake of the club, what it would look like afterwards. They've taken a 22% share in Braga, and I don't think there's been like any sort of major investment as of yet through them. But it's been a very short time.
We know I don't in Portuguese league. It's more about selling players. I don't think it's much about don't think a lot of clubs are buying loads of players for lots of money out in Portugal. So, look, I don't know. There's only talks at the moment, so we don't really know what the situation is, to be honest.
But what we do know is that meetings have been taking place. Levy has been out to Qatar, and it's definitely a possibility. But again, we've heard stuff around the naming rights and heavy investment into Spurs before, and nothing has come to fruition before. So I wouldn't hold my breath just yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think it's anything to think about just yet.
Yeah. But now let's talk about potential incomings and outgoings. And the flavour of the day is Leandro Trossard of Brighton. As Sammy Mockbell says that Tottenham have accelerated their interests in Trossard, but a deal for the Belgian international is not imminent, and any move is likely to take place later in the transfer window. Antonio Conte is eager to secure a deal for Trossard this month, with Trossard in line to leave Brighton in January. Ben Jacobs says that Tottenham are genuinely interested in Trossard, and his agent has made it clear that he wants to leave Brighton. Trossard has been offered to Spurs, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle and Manchester United over the past 2 months. And Sport Pete O says Tottenham have had a verbal offer for Trossard rejected from Brighton. What's your opinions?
It's an interesting one because obviously has got 6 months left of his contract, so he would actually probably be fairly cheap. I do think he definitely adds quality depth to our front line. I think he gets plenty of game time. He can even play wing back as well if need be. He's done that many times for Brighton. I think he's this season stepped up quite a bit. I think he's got 7 goals and 3 assists in the first half of the season. Got a hat-trick at Anfield. So he's filled in at number 9 as well, which I wouldn't want him to see him there in a Spurs shirt, but he's done it before. He plays off the left, can play central position. He's a nice little dribbler. I don't think he's the most lightning quick player, but he's got nice dribbling ability. and he's a decent finisher. So I think he's a good player, and I think it adds good quality to us. But it's interesting what I heard from De Zerbi about why he claims he left him out the other week. He was out the squad because he says he didn't feel like he was trying hard enough in training and stuff like that, and he was questioning his work ethic. I also go back to the World Cup. Like, it's not like Belgium were blessed with attacking options. You know, they were playing half fit Eden Hazard. They were playing Michy Batshuayi. Dries Mertens even playing, and Trossard didn't really get a look in, and they didn't fancy him. And you got to ask yourself why that is. He's also been in this. He's been in this league for 3 years, and to be fair, he's been improving year on year in terms of goals. First year 5 goals, second year I think 8 goals, and this year obviously 7 already. So it does seem to be getting better. And so I would be happy with this deal, to be honest. I do think it adds quality, versatility, but I also think he's 28. I don't think he's like a potential long-term successor to Sonny when Sonny starts burning out, which might be happening now already. But I don't see him as a player who can take over Sonny's mantle. So I do see him as a player who's only going to ever be his ceiling of a squad player at Spurs.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Trossard because I really like him, and I think that the comments from De Zerbi might be playing into what kind of Ben Jacobs is saying in terms of that Trossard has made it clear, his agents have made it clear that he wants to leave Brighton. And, you know, sometimes subconsciously you can't give the same effort once you make those feelings known, or once those feelings kind of creep into your head. Maybe you can't give 100%. And I can understand that, to be honest, but it's not something that you want to see from a player at all. I mean, you know, you cast your mind back to Christian Eriksen. We all said that about Christian Eriksen before he left. But I would like to see Trossard at Spurs. I'm undecided who I'd prefer between Trossard and Zaha. I do think Zaha is the more superior player, but I think Trossard maybe has a bit more longevity in terms of his age, being a couple years apart. So I don't know. I'd like to see either of them through the door. I think both of them would be valuable assets for Spurs.
For me, I'd rather 2 years of a good Zaha than 4 years of Trossard, in my opinion. And if we could go for Zaha, I think Zaha probably commands a bigger wage. And also I don't know, maybe he might command like a first team place a bit more vociferously than someone like Trossard. But for me, I think Zaha comes and actually pushes the first team, in my opinion. And I think he's so underrated. I think he's so good. You put him among better players and he gets better. But to be fair, Trossard's done very good at Brighton over the last couple of years. So don't want to knock him. But if I was to if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose Zaha.
All right, well, let me know in the comment section below. Who would you like to see at Spurs, or prefer to see at Spurs? Would it be Leandro Trossard, or will it be Wilfried Zaha? Let me know in the comment section below. Now let's talk about the right wing-back situation once again. Emerson Royal up first, as Paul O'Keefe says that 2 clubs are interested in Emerson Royal, one in Spain, one in Italy. Well, can one of those clubs make a bid, please?
I'd hope so. I would love if Emerson can get a transfer somewhere and we'll open up a space for Spurs to get that replacement at right wing back as soon as possible. It's interesting we bring up Emerson. He's just done an interview and there's some quotes coming out about him responding to some of the fan reactions to either him coming on or off the pitch. Football London obviously did the interview. They asked the Brazilian about the criticism from fans, and he admitted that it's outside of his control and he's just going to continue to improve. He said, "It's not up to me whether the crowd's opinions is fair or not. There are people who pay to watch matches, but there are many people in my favour. I do not seek to see these questions about me. I prefer to focus on doing the best for the club. I prefer to dedicate myself 100% to what I can do. Sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't, but it's not for the lack of will or dedication." He goes on to say, "I never stopped making the effort, trying to help my teammates and managing to sustain the happiness I've put on the field. I always try to do that. I understand all the manifestations of the fans. It's their role together, but you must understand about the player, his moment, will and repertoire. I'm trying to improve every day and live up to all the trust and motives. I support myself a lot in the messages and affections I've received." And also goes on to say, yeah, Football London understands there is interest from clubs from Spain and Italy. I wonder who those clubs are. I do think he's more suited to those leagues, and as well, hope if he goes to that club that plays 4 at the back, I do think he's more suited to that as well. But when it comes to the fans' reactions to him, obviously there has been quite a few recently. I think there was one he went off, I think after an hour or 70 minutes, and there was kind of audible jeers. And there was one where he came on where it was kind of like
Crystal Palace,
and he kind of got what do you call it? When there's cheers, ironic cheers. So I feel for him on that sense, but at the end of the day, he's just so consistently average. It's like hard to watch.
I get that, and I want him to leave as much as the next person does, and I think he's not good enough for this football club for what we want to do. But I think personally, the way the fans are treating him right now with the boos and the jeers is not helping anyone. It's really not helping anyone, and I think that boos and jeers and stuff like that should only come out when it's very much warranted, like Ndombele when he was walking off the pitch against Morecambe, like I always say about Hossam Ghali when he threw the shirt down at Martin Yole. These are the moments where you should be booing and jeering players. Emerson Royal, he is giving his all for this football club. His all is not good enough. That's the fact of the matter, but that's not his fault. That's our fault for putting him in that situation and buying him and putting our trust in him. It's not his fault that he's not good enough. He's putting his 100% on the pitch, and I think the boos and the jeers and the way the fans are treating him from the stands is not on, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So there you have it. That is Emerson Royal. Let's talk about Pedro Porro now. Rudy Galetti says that Tottenham and Pedro Porro have a general agreement over personal terms. Spurs will now continue to put pressure on Sporting to sell him over the coming weeks. However, the Portuguese club are continuing to insist that they have to pay his €45 million release clause. A publication called Record out in Portugal have some quotes from Ruben Amorim, the Sporting Lisbon boss, and he says, they only leave for the clause. We are ready. We know the amount of attacks that go through Porro and Edwards. Nobody is blind here, but the market is what it is. So it sounds like he's gearing up for Porro to leave. But is it going to be January? Is it going to be the summer? And is it going to be to Tottenham? Are we going to be the ones to meet that release clause? Because Chelsea seem like they're sniffing around right now.
Who aren't Chelsea sniffing around right now? They're unbelievable. I'm just reading right now. They're looking to complete a deal for Thuram and Madueke as well now.
Madueke?
Apparently, according to the Times. Anyway, that's enough about Chelsea. But look, I'd be very disappointed if Porro we were to lose out to Chelsea, considering we could have paid the clause, got ahead of the deal, and he's always wanted to join us. So if we could have, if we lose out to Chelsea because we're digging our heels in over a few million, that would very, very much frustrate me. Obviously, look, they're going for the clause. There's always going to be this bargaining between, especially with Spurs involved. Other clubs maybe will just pay the clause and move on, but with Spurs looking to save every penny, from Levy's point of view, he's probably thinking, you never know, if we wait till the end of the window, maybe they'll back down on their heavy stance. But from a Tottenham fans' point of view, and probably Conte's point of view, you're losing time, you're losing a lot of energy, like focusing on trying to get the price down as much as possible when you can just get him in and move on from the situation. And as I've said before, the clause is €45 million. That really isn't. I mean, I'm not saying it's cheap, but it's not really like a price that should be, if you're thinking he's an upgrade, that you should be bulking at. Like, I don't want to come to the end of this window and we don't have him because we bulked at the clause. I don't think that's an excuse, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And from what if and as I've said, if we've scouted him and Spurs have identified him as a player who could be our upgrade at right wing back, there is no excuse.
Get the deal done. Mm-hmm. How hard is it? I mean, it's come out. I mean, we've heard from publications that Porro would be open to the move to coming to Tottenham. We heard from Rudy Galetti, apparently personal terms have been agreed, and the only stumbling block is Spurs agreeing something with Sporting. And it's like, come on, guys. €45 million is really not that much in this day and age for a player that's going to suit your system perfectly. And
I've seen a few people on Twitter saying, no, I think Porro, 45 million is too much for Porro and they shouldn't be paying it. And I'm like, okay, fine, it's fine to have that opinion, but then if you think if that's too much for him because he's not that good, then why are we going in for him? Why do we want him? Why aren't we going for the better option? Who are these better options out there? I just don't understand it. Either we think he's the one, and for them 45 million isn't much, or we don't. And in that sense, why are we bothering?
Exactly. And all we're doing right now is wasting time and waiting to get gazumped by another club. That's literally all we're doing right now. Just get the deal done. It's like we've got so many big games early this month, in the middle of this month. Why are we waiting till the end of the month to get deals done?
Because he's just hoping they'll soften their stance later in the window. That's what he's hoping.
Yeah, but all that's gonna happen is that we're gonna get gazumped and he'll end up at Chelsea or something like that. So it's just so frustrating. But that's enough on Pedro Porro. Let's talk about Bryan Gil now. Bryan Gil has admirers in Spain, but Tottenham are set to keep him this January. And Bryan has revealed he has changed everything about his conditioning in a bid to persuade Antonio Conte he is strong enough to be a Premier League regular. Bryan wants to repay Antonio Conte for the faith that he has given him and the opportunities that he's given him. And the quote is, "He has given me minutes and I have to repay his faith. Everyone needs time to adapt. I've worked hard for this moment. I hope I'll keep getting minutes and keep improving. I have to take advantage of the opportunities that the manager is giving me, and I just want to restore his confidence so that he knows that he has to be calm with me."
Yeah, and I'm happy that Bryan Gil's been getting opportunities. I think, to be fair, even early in the season when he was coming off the bench in the Champions League games, he was making an impact. If you remember Frankfurt and Sporting Lisbon games.
Yeah.
So now he's been getting starts, and the Villa game wasn't amazing, but he still, tried a few things. Then Palace obviously was a fantastic performance. So we've always no one's ever doubted his ability to be a good quality footballer. It's whether he's adept to this league and whether this league is too physical for him. I think those question marks obviously still remain, but I'm glad that maybe the more he plays, because you got to remember he's only started 2 games in his career at Spurs, 2 Premier League games. So he needs time to have the chance to adapt. You're never going to adapt with a few minutes of coming off the bench, for 5 minutes here and there. So I'm glad that he's looking to prove Conte wrong. He's starting to his performances, and hopefully the more chances he gets, the more he adapts. The problem is, are we going to sign another one? Is he going to get that patience? What's going to happen next season? So there's still a lot of question marks, but at the moment he's doing a good job, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he is doing a good job. And he was also talking, I don't have the quotes in front of me, but I read them yesterday. He was talking about how much he has actually changed in the past few months to try and get to where he wants to be, talking about he's completely changed his diet, he's getting the right amount of sleep, and, changing up everything. And that's the mentality that you kind of want from a player like Bryan Gil, who clearly needs to bulk up and clearly needs to change the physical aspects of his body to be ripe and ready for the Premier League. And I think the attitude and the application is absolutely spot on from Bryan, and that's exactly what we want to see. You're clearly seeing him progress as a football player as well over the past couple of weeks since we've seen him in game times for 90 minutes. So I'm happy for Bryan, and I want to see him progress more, because he's a player with immense footballing ability, and he just needs to marry that with his physical ability. And I think we're going to see a top player at Tottenham. I really believe that.
What did Conte say? He was born to play football.
To play football, and the most what's his name? Bernardo Silva.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
Absolutely.
It's a clever comparison.
All right, next up is Giovani Lo Celso. As Stadio Deportivo say that Tottenham have already informed Villarreal that Lo Celso would cost around 20 million euros, a fee which the Spanish side would only be able to afford if they qualify for the Champions League or make some big money sales. Where have I heard that one before?
Literally heard that last season, last January. Only going to happen, and then they didn't qualify. Obviously, he didn't move, and then he's still on loan. I'm just fed up of even thinking about Lo Celso and Ndombele. Just where I just hope they go. I hope they're. I don't want to be talking about how much I want them to leave already.
Just go.
But exactly. Part of me as well, though, is a bit like, we talk about our lack of creativity so much, and we have Lo Celso and Ndombele both, out on loan and just not doing, and obviously not part of our squad. And part of me thinks, we could do with them, but if Conte doesn't fancy them, it's better just cutting ties. We know how much they've been out of favour for a while now at Tottenham. So it's best for everyone if they just go.
Yeah, I kind of get that horrible feeling that if Conte does walk at the end of the year and we do get a new manager next year, all these players are going to be back on, with a clean slate and given another chance, and ultimately throw it away. That's what frustrates me.
I hope they don't. If they do get another chance.
But, let's say Poch comes in. I mean, he's the one that signed these players. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think he will. And probably Winks as well. He used to love Winks. So, look, we'll see where we go there. But right now, with Antonio Conte, I don't see any way back for these players. So, hopefully we get deals done for them. And last but not least, Gareth Bale has announced his retirement from football today. Unbelievable story. An amazing career, Gareth Bale. You always probably get left the feeling of how much more he could have done within the game with the quality that he did have. Great moments at Spurs, unbelievable career at Real Madrid. Most successful British export, I think, of all time as well, with 5 Champions Leagues. And I think you really saw it at the World Cup, because you thought with Wales, Gareth Bale always is one that kind of stands up for the team and he's their talisman and really pushes them forward. And you didn't really see that at the World Cup. And I guess injuries has probably finally taken its toll with the man.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's decided to now retire, having signed that contract with LA Galaxy. I don't know how much longer he had to run on it, but I don't think he was near the end of it. He'd only signed 6 months ago. So clearly he's felt like, but he was scoring some goals for them. I remember some nice goals. So
he was hardly getting starts.
So I guess maybe he's deteriorating physically. But I remember in his first few games, there's one goal where he ran past 2 players and cut inside and fired into the corner. I was like, okay, he's still got something to offer. I think he only
scored a couple of goals.
But yeah, near the beginning. So it's just sad that it ended like that. He's only 33, which isn't that old when it comes to a player's career, especially. So, it wasn't that long ago where he scored 16 goals in a season for Spurs. Yes, he wasn't starting many games, but there's a lot of goals. 11 Premier League goals he got that season under Mourinho. So I feel like, under different circumstances, maybe he could have extended his career longer. But what more can you say about him? How many trophies he's won? All those 5 Champions League trophies. I think 2 or 3 La Liga trophies as well. Glittering career of unbelievable goals, chock-a-block, unbelievable dribbles, unbelievable moments. One of the most amazing rises I've ever seen at Spurs, going from an injury-prone backup left back to world star within
to an injury-prone world star.
Yeah, but that period at Tottenham, when he was breaking,
it was a special moment.
When he broke out,
it was special.
It was unbelievable. I've never seen maybe until like Harry Kane. Never saw a rise so quick and just so unbelievable. One of the best ever to play for Spurs, for sure at his best. And wish him good luck in retirement. So career.
What do you make out of why did it go so wrong for him at Real Madrid? What happened there? Was it a mentality thing? Was it injuries just got the better of him? What was it? Because the things that he was doing, like on the sidelines and the golf and all that kind of, with the big sign, Golf Madrid and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what happened to him?
It's hard for me to say. Obviously, we know he fell out with Zidane. I think it had a lot to do with maybe he was getting a lot of muscle injuries. He's started to trust his body a lot less than maybe he did in his early years. He didn't have that air of invincibility where he used to just go full pelt and take people on all the time. He had to kind of adjust his game and kind of manage his sprinting, and didn't want to sprint too much in case his hamstring went and stuff like that. And maybe that affected how the managers looked at him and whether they wanted him, from the start in games, and then maybe because he started to get picked less, that started to affect him, his mentality, because he's obviously, and probably from his point of view, rightfully thinking, look, I'm the best player here, or one of the best players here. I should be starting every game. I should be one of the first names on the team sheet. But maybe his body didn't agree with it, and maybe managers saw that. So kind of there was a bit of an impasse there. Maybe he didn't maybe appreciate his place in the squad at the time. And it led to a very fractious relationship, clearly for him and the fans. And obviously the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years at Madrid was quite toxic. He probably he just should have left very early on, moved to Man United or something. Or obviously back to Spurs would have been perfect. But he should have got a move when he had the chance. He didn't quite take it. He's probably stayed there a bit too long. And then it ended how it did.
Yeah. Amazing moments he had in his career. I mean, that overhead kick in the Champions League final against Liverpool will stand out in everyone's memory. But how many moments he had in a Spurs shirt? What would you say your favourite was?
He had so many. He loved a goal against Arsenal. my favourite, obviously, I think probably my favourite was the home game against Inter Milan, because that was just wasn't just first of all, it was a him breaking out like moment, but us getting that such a big win in the Champions League against a big club, and him just taxi from icon now sticks in the memory forever.
Yeah, and you just knew, like, from the first game, he scored that hat trick in the San Siro in a 4-3 loss. And everyone knew after that game, we are going to beat these lot at home. We are going to beat these lot at home. And Gareth Bale, like, over those 2 games was just, like, insane. Like, he just destroyed Inter Milan single-handedly pretty much. And Maicon was probably never the same after that as well.
Definitely not.
And a couple of other moments. I mean, that goal against West Ham in the last minute was unbelievable. There were just so many great moments from Gareth Bale. And that season, his last season at Spurs, I mean, how many last-minute winners, last-minute bangers did he do for us? I mean, I just remember that one last game, the last goal he scored for us against Southampton before he left. Was that the last one?
Obviously, he came back.
Yeah, I mean, before he left. I mean, I was sitting right behind that goal. That's where I had my season ticket, and you just saw it fly into the top corner. And that left foot of his was just magic. It was just absolutely magic. And what I really loved about Gareth Bale is that time when he was coming up and that relationship he had with Asu Akoto on that left-hand side, with Asu Akoto used to just outside of the boot, play a like little through ball to him, and he used just to run onto it every time and just beat everyone in front of him. So, I mean, he had amazing moments in a Spurs shirt. I want to know your favourite Gareth Bale moments in the comment section below, but that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.